Okay, let's try another word problem which results in a quadratic equation. Let's say we have a ladder and it's leaning up against the side of a building. Like so. So that's my building, this is the ground, that's my ladder. And let's say the ladder is, we'll make it short. Let's make it 6 feet. If you want it longer, you could pretend it's 6 meters and you could do the whole thing in meters. That's fine. And we're told one piece of information about the distances between the ladder from the base of the building and the height of where this rests on the building. We are told the distance on the ground of the base of the ladder on the ground from the building is 3 less than the height of the ladder. Find the height. Okay, so I know that this number is 3 less than this number. So what do I have here? I have a triangle. And what do I know? Well, we're assuming that if we assume that the building is built kind of straight, this is a right angle. And there's a rule that connects this side and this side and this side that most of you probably know, called the Pythagorean theorem. So if this is 6, and this distance on the ground is x, and this distance, well, this is 3 less than this. So maybe I'll make this be x. Or you know what? Let's not use x at all. Let's use h for height. So if this is the height, this is the height minus 3. That's what we're told. That this distance on the ground from the building is 3 less than the height of the ladder. So the Pythagorean theorem tells us that h squared, which is the height, plus this squared, h minus 3 squared, is equal to 6 squared. So I get h squared plus h squared, let's see, we'll get minus 3h minus another 3h plus 9 equals 36. So what I might want to do is I might want to move everything over to one side and combine. I'll combine these two h's. H squared plus h squared is not 3. It's equal to 2h squared. And we get minus 6h. And then we have 9 minus 36. That's going to give me 27. But it's negative because we're subtracting the 36 from the 9. And that's equal to 0. So we have this equation here. Now I could try to factor. I'm not going to have much success working over the whole numbers. If I do here, 27, a 27 and a 1. Well, we do have a 2 here, but I'm not having high hopes for that, especially since we have a quadratic equation, or we could complete the square. We have 2 other methods where we could solve this problem. Maybe we should try one of those. So let's try completing the square. Obviously, our formula works for things of the form x squared plus bx, and we have h's, but we don't even have an h squared. We have a 2h squared. So I don't have a way to complete the square with this right here, but what I could do is I could divide everything by 2. So that gives me h squared minus 3h minus 27 over 2 is equal to 0. And now I can complete the square. my b is negative 3. My b over 2 would be minus 3 halves. And my b over 2 squared, which is the thing I'm adding and subtracting, is 9/4. So I get h squared minus 3h plus 9/4. I have to subtract because I don't want to change the question. And if I group this together, what do I get? I'm going to get h plus b over 2, or h minus 3 halves in quantity squared. So now I have this. I want to combine. Well, 27 over 2 happens to be what? That's 54 over 4. So what I'll do is I'll combine those two. So minus 54 minus 9, put them together, and I'm going to get minus 63 over 4. And now I can just use my rule for radicals. I get plus or minus the root of 63 over 4. Some of you probably already noticed the root of a over b is the root of a over the root of b, and I have a 4 right here. So that's going to give me a 2. So h is going to be 3 halves plus or minus the root of 63 over 2, which gives me, I can write this all in one fraction, since both have the same denominator. Regardless of whether this is a plus or minus, these both have the same denominator. So this gives me 3 plus or minus root 63 over 2. I can actually simplify just a little bit more, because 63 is what? That's 9 times 7. And I know what the root of 9 is. So this is actually just 3 plus or minus root 7, or I'll write it as root 9 root 7, because it's the root of 9 times 7, which is root 9 root 7, which is equal to 3 plus or minus 3 root 7 over 2. And you might say, well, too bad, we're out of luck. We got two different equations. We got, two different solutions. But let's think about where this came from. I wanted to know what the height was. Is the height negative? Not according to this picture. Not according to this scenario. I mean, I guess technically I could have dug a big pit. I could have put the ladder so it faces down. I could have covered it up with soil so the ladder's underground. But that's clearly not what's going on here. So I'm going to say, hey, the negative solution makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to get rid of it since this is an actual problem. So I get 3 plus root 7 over 2 for my only solution, because I'm tossing that one out. Oh, there's a 3 there. And what I want to do in the next step is factor out that 3. So I get 1 plus root 7 over 2. And that is my solution.